Hello, Serge here from the Backyard Driving Range. Alright, we have a question today coming in from Ken Silva to customer service, and he says, Serge, I believe I understand most of what you have said in previous videos. I recently purchased a 23-page manual and have a question. On page 7, item listing 5, there are 2 sentences. The first one, in parentheses, keep left foot planted, is easy. The second one, I do not recall hearing. Let the weight roll to the inside of the left foot. This is during the lift, and this is telling me that the weight on the outside of the left foot transfers to the inside of the left foot during the lift portion of the backswing. I presume it does not tell me that all the weight is now on the inside portion of the left foot. Please explain. Okay, very good question, and it's I think it's going to be simple to explain. But the thing is that this is one of these things in the peak performance swing that can vary from golfer to golfer based on your own physical abilities and, or sometimes I like to say, liabilities. Okay, now I'm going to walk you through what I feel. Okay, and then you can relate to what I'm feeling and see if you can do it. Now again, someone more supple and flexible than me could possibly turn a little bit more or have a tendency to want to move the knee more. But the key is the more you move, you keep your forward knee stable, the better off you are. And basically, when I'm standing here right now, my feet, I'm flat on my feet. All right, I'm not on the heavy on the outside. I'm not on the inside. I am kind of like I feel dead centered down the foot. It's like if I was a linebacker and I'm looking at the wide receiver, I'm standing here. Because if I get on the outsides of my feet, then my knees will get pulled out too far, and my ability to move one way or the other at the blink of an eye and a snap of a finger would be greatly diminished, and diminished in speed as well as balance and strength. So you're dead. You're in your athletic weight position. Your weight's in your arches, but it's centered on you. It's centered right up the center of your foot, right through the center of your ankles. Okay, you with me on that? So now in this position, I can go either way. But either way, I'm never going to let my weight roll to the outsides too much, or the insides, because either way, rolling to the insides collapses you inward. All right, and that's what everybody fights when they lift that foot up and kick it in, like they've always told you to make the big turn. All right, and then again, if you let it roll, if you hold this one and you let this one roll to the outside, now you're putting in lateral sway. So we go from inward collapse to outward collapse. So I really think the answer is you have to try to keep the weight pretty much on the centered on your feet in both places. So I'm starting here right now, and I'm feeling that right now the weight is centered in my foot, and I feel the pressure in a pressure point right here in my heel where it's maybe centered or just a little inside of center. Okay. Now when I stand here, I have very little knee movement. Now I'm not the most supple guy in the world, but to me, I feel like I'm blessed with that, with that lesser stretchability and flexibility, because it reduces my chances of overturning. I just had a student come up to me at the last golf school. The first thing he told me was, he said, I am hyper flexible. I have to work doubly hard on maintaining my knees and tightening up my core to make sure I just don't turn, and I don't even know I'm turning, and I'm so far back there in the sacred burial ground, I need a bus ticket to get out. Okay, so he says I got to really work on that. So I actually think I'm more blessed by not being quite so supple, because when I hold it, I get a better stretching of my muscles where they're stretching athletically ready to just go ahead and snap. So when I start here, my weight on both feet are basically centered. So I'm resisting that left knee. I can feel my foot, as you can see, my ankle is moving inward a little bit. You can see the leg here is coming inward a little bit, but I'm never collapsing to the inside. And what's going to tell me I'm collapsing to the inside? You're going to lose. You reach the point where everybody has that point where you stand here and just move your knee. Where does your knee start to collapse and pull your hip down? You can never get to that point, because if you go to that point, you rotate too far inside. My weight is actually going to move from that point out here a little bit, which is just inside of center, to maybe move a half an inch here, but it never gets to the total inside of the leg because my knee never collapses. So I think that's the key. You have to find out how far can you move your knee before it collapses and pulls your hip. Because remember, the ankle's connected to the knee knee's connected to the hip to the spine, and the spine and everything connects to the shoulders and head. So we can't have that collapse, because it changes every angle in your body. So you have to independently, for you, find out how far you can go. And that basically is the same for every club in a bag. And as the clubs get longer, it's even more important to make sure you never go past that point. So, because the longer the club, you go past that point, with the longer club moving this way, your collapse will be even worse, which now means your recovery is going to have to be extra forceful and stressful and energized to try to correct. And so now you go one problem coming into another one, right? The old concept of the dominoes falling. Once the first one falls, they all go. So everything has to start making corrections to have a chance at hitting the ball. So naturally, when I do that and I get that little bit of knee coming in, my knee probably doesn't move more than an inch. And I really think most people, that's about the limit we got with almost anybody, that you can move it 1 inch, inch and a half. I have never seen too many people that go 2 inches and not have that slight collapse inward. That's the key. It might shift a little inside, but it never gets to the inside of the foot, because if it got to the inside of the foot, if it gets to the inside of this, totally to the inside of the foot, where my weight is right here, totally on the inside at the ball and the heel, I guarantee you it's going to be pushing that right leg out, and now you're going to be into a collapse in and a sway out. Okay, so I just turn, it stays here, and as I turn to that inside point there, I'm sitting into my right leg, and I think my right foot is feeling the weight on my heel in the same place it's on the other side. So they're perfectly balanced between each other, and as you can see, my knees are staying relatively level. So that's the key. It moves a little inside, but it's probably not going to move more than shouldn't move more than about a ½ inch, and your lever, your gauge, is your left knee. So control that knee. It should probably move never more than about 1 inch. And as soon as you snap, it's already move the weight back to the outside, so you can push off that right foot and stand up swinging at the target. The left knee is the gauge, and start feeling about where you feel the pressure on the bottom of your heel on both feet. And when you maintain a wide knees outward pressure and you basically keep them there, that knee will move never more than about 1 inch or so. This one will stay in place, and then you got the nice stretch going on. So when you transition, all those muscles in your legs running all the way up through your arms, through your shoulders, down into your hips and everything else, and finally up to your club. When you snap that way, that club comes, it just pulls your arms down, and you can just rip those hands and arms swinging up to the tee finish and rip it, hit those balls more solid straight, likely longer, and shoot those lower scores. Okay, so that's it for the search today on footwork, especially the left knee, the forward knee, and foot, and how that's going to control your wide knees outward pressure to really have you hitting the ball as good as you can hit it and shooting those lower scores. That's it for today, and I'll be talking to you all again soon.